it's quite interesting because you've got to make these pieces practical as well, and you're kind of you're pushing the limit of what is really sculptural and what is design. So that obviously is a console table. So what's the balance when you're thinking about the design? How do you work around that?
We really like to basically make a piece without function, but then afterwards try to think, can there be any function worked into the piece? So
it's a real challenge.
It's a big challenge. It's really fun, but think of a piece and create it in your mind afterwards in wood, and then think, how can we tweak or twist this piece a little bit just to give it
flat enough.
Give it flat enough to make a small stool or make a shelf out of it and make it work.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, that's quite kind of, as furniture makers, it's quite ironic that you're thinking about that at the last stage of the design rather than at the beginning. That's kind of turning the whole process on its head, isn't it? Somehow?
But after we started working with you, Sarah, I think we really want to break free of that furniture thinking. So that's the last part now.
Instead of the first part. But I mean, your both of your histories are fascinating because you're both master craftsmen and you've worked with some extraordinary designers and inspired by some incredible Danish design. So perhaps you could just tell us a little bit about your past and what's brought you to this point.
Well, we are out of this very fine tradition with Danish design, mid-century Danish design in the 40s, 50s, and 60s here in Denmark. There was these incredible architects and cabinet makers that, together they made some really, really innovative designs, and they really pushed the limits of the wood. They found new technologies to use, and Lasse and I were both so lucky that we did our apprenticeships at one of the best studios in the world for this, and it has a very long tradition. It was opened in 1953, just in the middle of this great era. So the guys that we were training with, they were the best of it. They are the best of the best. So it's sort of you get to know that you have to do the craftsmanship is so important, and the material is so important, and you have to do better every day. You have to learn new every day. That's just the main, mindset really of this design era. So that is what we come of. But still, after all these years of doing what was done back then, you need to innovate. And that's a deep thing.
Keep pushing the limits, basically.
Yeah.
So you're following that great tradition of wood designers who continually push the limits to create.
But the expressions of our pieces has just jumped far from this mid-century Danish design, and Rias, it's sort of it's so nice. I mean, and we really want to try to just go further all the time. We cannot stop, really.
Yeah, and one thing also that back in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, there was a lot of it was about the craftsmanship of the furniture makers. Now in Denmark, to be a little bit frank, has changed. The scene has changed to become more a design scene than a craftsman scene.
Yeah.
So the focus is more on the design rather than the craftsmanship, where we think as makers that
it has to do both.
It has to do both, and the craftsmanship is as important as the design part of the piece.
No, I agree. I mean, it's so obvious as soon as you see your work, the level of craftsmanship and the precision